Hi, I'm Admiral, and in this video, I'm finally getting around to a request made under the last Pokémon Explained video on breeding. As a man of the people, no comment is too small to escape my notice. Unless a video blows up and gets several thousand comments, in which case, most of them will probably escape my notice. Anyway, as I'm sure you've noticed since the comment has been left on screen for an unreasonable amount of time, this video will be another Pokémon Explained, this time all about hidden abilities. As always, I'm breaking this down using the tried and true method of the WOA, what it is, how it works, and ways that we can use it to improve as players. Hidden abilities are a straightforward mechanic, which is nice considering how much there was to talk about with breeding and stat growth indicators. The what is where we'll start with our easily understood journey. Hidden abilities are a rare ability that a Pokémon can have that is separate from its usual pool, introduced as a mechanic in Generation 5. While not every Pokémon has a hidden ability, those that do will usually find it to be better than their standard ability, or standard abilities if that Pokémon can have multiple. Essentially, it's just an extra ability that is both hard to acquire and is sometimes better than the standard options. And that's all we have to talk about for the what. Now we're on to the how, and this is where things get a touch murky, but it's not that bad. The only dense part of this is a brief explainer on how the game assigns abilities to individual Pokémon. Every Pokémon normally has two ability slots. For Pokémon with two standard abilities, these slots are occupied by the two different abilities. For Pokémon with only one, these slots are occupied by the same ability. Starting in Generation 5 with the advent of hidden abilities, each Pokémon received a third ability slot, which has their hidden ability. Even Pokémon with no hidden ability can still have this slot assigned to them, which means that they'll have their hidden ability when they evolve. A Pokémon can also lose their hidden ability upon evolution, but can pick it up again later after a second evolution. A very simple example of this is the Butterfree line. Metapod has no hidden ability, so a Caterpie with their hidden ability would lose it upon evolving, and then evolve again into a Butterfree with its hidden ability. So even a Pokémon who appears at first to have one of their standard abilities may end up having their hidden ability later on. The process of actually getting a hidden ability onto a Pokémon can range from tedious to simple, depending on your method. Catching a wild Pokémon with a hidden ability isn't impossible, but it can be difficult depending on method and generation. Of course, because Game Freak seems to have some aversion to consistency, the methods vary wildly across generations, so I'll just talk about the most recent mainline games to save us all a bit of time. In both Generation 8 and Generation 9, there's a chance that your caught raid encounters will have their hidden ability, which is actually the only way to catch a Pokémon with their hidden ability in those games. For the previous generations, there are more options, but I feel less urgency to talk about the older games. If you're still consistently playing Pokémon Black in the year of our Lord 2024, you absolutely know how to get hidden abilities in there. Luckily, there are several other ways to acquire a hidden ability without getting lucky in a raid. To start, Sword and Shield introduced the Ability Patch, an item that will give the Pokémon you use it on their hidden ability. A Pokémon can also pass on a hidden ability through breeding, which I touched upon in the last explained video. In addition, event Pokémon may be sent out with their hidden ability, so it's always worth keeping an eye out for those special little fellas. Similarly, there are plenty of gift Pokémon that get their hidden ability. In practice, it's actually a bit easier to receive a Pokémon with its hidden ability than it is to catch one. You can think of encountering a hidden ability as a moment of direct intervention by the game. Without a raid or breeding, the game will never move to that third ability slot. It's only in those exact circumstances that you might get a hidden ability, and the other methods are either motivated by developer or player intervention. And that actually just about wraps up the how. Like I said, this is a very straightforward topic. So, now that we know what hidden abilities are and how Pokémon can get them, let's take some time to discuss the ways that we can use them to our advantage. The first, and really only, thing to know is that while hidden abilities tend to be better than the standard option or options, this is not always the case. For example, let's dip back to our pal Butterfree. Its hidden ability is Tinted Lens. This ability has the effect of doubling the power of resisted moves. With this ability, a move that's only resisted by one type would do neutral damage, while a quad-resisted move would just appear to be resisted only once. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Anyway, Butterfree's standard ability is Compound Eyes. This makes moves far more accurate, and I absolutely prefer this to Tinted Lens. Butterfree has access to Poison Powder, Stun Spore, and, most importantly in my opinion, Sleep Powder. These moves all have an accuracy score of 75, but with Compound Eyes, that number jumps up to 97.5. Having an almost 100% accurate status move that works in one turn is phenomenal, since it means you don't have to use a stinker of a Pokemon like Parasect to get access to Spore. Butterfree has a better move pool, a better type, and better utility, and is viable in both casual and challenge playthroughs pretty much entirely because of Compound Eyes. Butterfree is very rarely going to sweep the Elite Four or Champion for you, but Compound Eyes gives it the capacity to put opponents to sleep to either set up its own sweeps or let other Pokemon set up, making it invaluable in the early to mid game, especially since Caterpie will likely be one of the first Pokemon you encounter. Another example of this is Salamence, who I want to talk about specifically because it's far less clear which ability is the better choice. Its standard ability is Intimidate, which lowers the attack stat of opposing Pokemon anytime Salamence enters the field. You'll often see Nuzlockers and Challenge Runners use this ability to get an opponent to -6 attack by swapping an Intimidate user onto the field over and over and over. Its hidden ability is Moxie. Moxie increases the user's attack stat by 1 stage each time they knock out an opposing Pokemon. Both are phenomenal in very different ways, so it can be intimidating, pun absolutely intended, to try sorting out which is better. As with all things, this decision ultimately depends on the context of your playthrough. If you're working towards a support Salamence, likely running Tailwind, then Intimidate is going to be the better pick. If you're like me and prefer a hyper-aggressive playstyle focused around setting up and sweeping, then snowballing a battle with Moxie is going to be the clear choice. If you're playing competitive, you're probably always going to run Intimidate, since you're almost certainly playing a doubles format and therefore will be getting 2 stat drops instead of 1, doubling the ability's efficiency. But Moxie can still be a fun mix-up. So hopefully I've imparted a bit of wisdom about when to work towards a hidden ability. The reason it's so important to decide between trying for a hidden ability, settling for a standard ability, or, in fact, prioritizing a standard ability, is because it's so damn hard to actually get a hidden ability. Ability patches aren't exactly common items, and you're just straight up gambling in a raid. Heck, even breeding for a hidden ability isn't guaranteed. Not only does it have to come from the mother, so you're shit out of luck if you have a male Pokemon with a hidden ability and no Ditto, but there's only a 60% chance of inheritance anyway. On top of that, you then obviously have to raise that Pokemon, which can be time-consuming in its own right. That is, if its IVs in nature even make it worth raising in the first place. You've probably heard it plenty of times from me at this point, but I can't overstate how important it is that your decisions be driven by your playstyle and the specific needs and context of your playthrough. If you're going to invest the time and resources into getting a hidden ability, you should be confident that it will have a payoff at least equal to the investment. It's tough, but researching Pokemon and all of their possible abilities will make that decision far more manageable for you, regardless of your experience level. And that just about does it for this one. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot, even though it ended up on the shorter side. If this helped you out in any way, make sure to drop a like on the video. If there are any other mechanics you'd like explained, feel free to let me know in the comments. Hearing from you all lets me know what you want to see, and constructive feedback helps me improve with each video. Speaking of new videos, I have a fun one coming up that I'm pretty excited to share, featuring my older sister. Yeah, you're getting Admiral lore now. After that will be an edited version of my most recent Civilization stream, which realistically should have come out way before this, but then I realized that I should have made this video like a month ago, so I decided to prioritize hidden abilities instead. Anywho, that just about does it for me in this one. Obviously, I've got plenty planned and no real schedule for any of it. But if you're interested in seeing what's coming next, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.